Ribollita is a traditional bread and bean soup from Tuscany. I am a self-proclaimed bean lover, and in fact, my maiden name roughly translates to bean farmer in Italian. So this recipe was made for me. Let me show you how to make it.
We're going to start with our soffritto. To a large pot, add 3 tablespoons, 45 milliliters of olive oil. Turn your stovetop onto medium-high.
I'm using a soffritto that I pre-prepared and froze into blocks. I've chopped mine really finely because I don't like large chunks of vegetables. But if you like a heartier soup, you can always cut your vegetables larger.
But if you're making it fresh, you'll want to use 1 red onion, 2 carrots, and 1 stick of celery. If, like me, you're using a frozen soffritto, pop the lid on so that the steam can help it defrost. If you're using fresh ingredients, don't put the lid on, just give it a stir every few minutes so all of the ingredients can cook down. While the soffritto is sautéing, wash, peel, and chop 2 medium potatoes. I like to cut mine into about 2 centimeter cubes. If you want a more rustic version, you can cut them a little larger. But I find this size doesn't take quite as long to cook and you can be enjoying your ribollita sooner. This is a very rustic dish. If you haven't got potatoes, don't add them. If you have another root vegetable in your pantry, use those instead. It's very much what you have in the fridge can be added to this dish, within reason. Smash 1 large clove of garlic and give it a rough chop. It's going to really cook down in the soup anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfectly fine. Now that my soffritto has defrosted and everything's looking like it's cooking together and starting to turn translucent, I'm adding in the garlic. You only need to let the garlic cook for about 30 seconds before stirring it all in and adding any more ingredients. Any more and it can burn and become bitter.
If you like a little bit of heat in your soup, go on and add in some dried chilies or a peperoncino now.
And now for our aromatics. Add in 1 large sprig of rosemary or 1 tablespoon of dried rosemary, 2 bay leaves, and 15 grams or 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. And if you have one, go ahead and add in the rind from some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese.
This soup is very much a what you have on hand, throw everything in the pot kind of thing. So if you have some pancetta laying around or some extra sausages and you want to put those in there too, go for it.
Give that about 30 seconds to just start to toast up. Then add in 4 1/4 cups or 1 liter of stock or water.
I'm using chicken stock because I love the flavor it brings to the dish, but you could use vegetable stock and traditionally it would be made with water. So use what you have on hand. I've linked my video for a homemade chicken stock recipe in the description below.
Then add in 400 grams or 14 ounces of tinned tomatoes. Now there's a little bit of tomato left in my can and we don't waste anything. So add a little bit of water to the can, give it a swirl around and pop it into the pot. Add in your potatoes and then pop the lid on slightly ajar. I like to use my spoon to keep it elevated so that it releases some of that steam. Now on to the rest of our ingredients.
I'm using a high quality jarred bean for this recipe, but if you only have cans, you'll want to add them in a little bit sooner so that they can cook a little bit more. You want them to be nice and tender, and the canning process doesn't offer the same tenderness that a jar would. If you're making your beans from scratch, you can just go ahead and follow the recipe as I've set it out. And if you can't find cannellini beans, you can use a romano or any sort of smallish, whitish bean will work.
You'll need 400 grams or 14 ounces of white beans for this recipe. My jar has 570 grams with the beanstalk, and I'm going to add it in because in a jar, the beanstalk is super delicious. But if you're using tinned beans, make sure that you've rinsed off the stalk first. So take 1/3 of your beans and mash them up with a potato masher. You may need to add a little bit of liquid if you're not using the beanstalk. You can also do this with an immersion blender like I did in my pasta e ceci video, but I'm just showing you a different method today in case you haven't got one. On to our cavolo nero. You could use any dark leafy green vegetable that you have, but cavolo nero is more traditional. And mine are already fairly trimmed and quite fine, so I don't really need to remove the stalks, but they can be a little bit woody. So the easiest way to do this is hold the stalk at the bottom and pull up the leaf and the stalk will basically remove itself. You'll need about 250 grams or 3.5 to 4 cups. Now give your cavolo nero a rough chop. And now for the pane, the bread.
You want a good quality bread that's gone stale, so a day or 2 old is perfect. Ideally, I would opt for an Italian-style bread, something with a really crusty edge, but that wasn't available to me, and so I'm using a sourdough baguette. It still has those crunchy, craggy edges, and it will soak up the soup beautifully.
Traditionally, with a large loaf, you'd just cut large slices and you'd put it into the soup that way. But I like to elevate the dish just a little bit and make them little garlic toasts. So I'm cutting about 2 centimeter slices from my baguette.
If you're making your toast garlicky, you'll want to preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
My nonna used to do these in the frying pan, but I find it much easier to line the tray with parchment paper, drizzle the bread with olive oil, and pop them in the oven.
These will need to toast for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until they start to get a little bit golden.
After about 10 minutes, give your potatoes a little check. They shouldn't be completely cooked through, but they should have a little bit of give when you press a fork into them. Add in your mashed up beans, and just like the can of tomatoes, we're going to add a little bit of water to the bottom of the bowl so that we haven't lost any of the beany goodness. Then add in the rest of your whole beans. Top that off with a cavolo nero and give it a good stir. Pop the lid back on a jar and let's check on our toast. Get yourself a peeled clove of garlic and rub them on top of each piece of your bread. This will impart the garlicky taste to each piece of toast. My nonna used to make these for breakfast for me. After another 8 to 10 minutes, everything's now cooked and come together, so it's time to pull out the aromatics. Remove the rosemary, the bay leaves, and the Parmigiano Reggiano rind. If you can't find a bay leaf, that's all right. It's good luck if you get it in your bowl. Now grate in about 1/8 of a cup, around 15 grams of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. As you know, I measure cheese with my heart, so if you want more cheese, go ahead and add it. And if you're keeping this vegetarian, make sure you're using a vegetarian Parmigiano Reggiano. They aren't all vegetarian. Give your soup a taste and adjust your seasoning with salt and pepper as necessary. Mine needs just a little bit of salt. At this stage, you'll want to turn the heat right down to low and then nestle in each little piece of your garlic toast. You can eat this straight away, but it's even better if you let it sit overnight and reheat it. The bread really absorbs all of those juices.
Traditionally, this soup would be made the day before and the bread would be layered under the soup. That allows it to really absorb all of the juices, and it's almost like you're just eating wet bread. I know that sounds weird, but it is honestly delicious.
The final thing that I do, and you could add this earlier if you want, is add in a splash of vinegar. Red wine or apple cider are perfect. It really helps to balance the creamy richness of the beans. I like to pop the lid on completely this time and let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before serving. To serve, grate a little bit more Parmigiano Reggiano over the top, add a little drizzle of olive oil if you'd like, and tuck in.
This recipe serves about 6 to 8 people, but if you love beans as much as I do, you may want to add in another jar. Who doesn't love more beans? And if you're looking to step up your kitchen game, why not check out my favorite kitchen gadgets? If you found this video helpful, please do hit the like button down below. It really helps YouTube to push this video out to other people like you who might enjoy it. See you next time.